dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got a movie review to share with you guys. Yesterday I heard that the movie Marriage Story starring Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson went up on Netflix, and I watched it immediately. I had heard a lot about this film and I couldn't wait to see it. Adam Driver is an actor that I find very intriguing. I find a lot of his work very interesting, and this was no exception. Now, when I first heard that this movie was essentially the story of a couple getting divorced, it kind of made me think that it was going to be similar to 2011's Blue Valentine starring Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. But it was very, very different. Now, both of those films hit me really hard, but in different ways and for different reasons. Now, there's not really going to be any spoilers in this review, so you don't have to worry about that, about anything getting ruined for you. This film is very much a character-driven story rather than a plot-driven story, so there's not even really that much to go through point by point. If you watch my book reviews, you know that's how I do them, so this is going to be different. Now, this movie is about Charlie and Nicole, and when the movie opens, we're reading this voiceover of the things that each of them love the most about each other. And they're all really beautiful things. For her, she loves that he's a great dad. And even the parts of being a dad that, you know, most people find annoying or tiresome, he loves those parts. She loves that he's self-sufficient and can cook a meal and darn a sock. She loves, you know, the way that he works, things like that. On the flip side, he loves that she's a mom that plays, and he loves that she's very much a member of the community, and she's a fantastic actress, and that's what they do. He is a director of theater, and they live in New York City. For Nicole, she used to be an actress, or rather she was like a film actress. She had this big role when she was younger, and then she met him and instantly fell in love with him. And then she followed him to New York, where she switched to gears and is now an actress in his plays. Soon after we learn all of the things that they love about each other, we also learn that they're going through a separation. Nicole gets a job on a TV show, and that is having her move out to LA. And Charlie isn't really interested in moving to LA, you know. Even though he didn't grow up in New York, he moved there, you know, with very little when he was old enough to move away. And he's very self-made, and he's now, I think the way she says it is, he's, you know, the most New Yorker. Like, he's very much a New Yorker at this point. And he doesn't want to move to LA, which honestly, I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to move to LA either. So she goes, and they have a bit of a back and forth with him traveling. And when she first goes, they decide that they're not going to be using any lawyers. They're going to do this as amicably as possible, because they also have a small child. I believe he's 8 years old, and his name is Henry. And right away, they know that they want to keep life as normal and simple and well-adjusted and together as they can for this child, because they both love him very much. But after Nicole gets out to LA and she starts talking with a lawyer who really presses to her the importance of, you know, doing it that way through lawyers and whatnot, and that gets the ball rolling. Eventually he comes to visit and is served with divorce papers. So that's kind of all the play-by-play I'm going to give you. We're just now going to talk about kind of what the movie brings you. First of all, it is so heartbreaking. Anytime there's a film like that where it's a dissolution of a relationship, it's always going to be one that pulls at the heartstrings. And this film is done in such a way that, honestly, it's almost a perfect movie in my mind. Like, the acting is out of this world, and I'm not even really a big fan of Scarlett Johansson's. There's just something about her that I don't really resonate with, but in this, I mean, she's just so good, the two of them. Adam Driver has a way about him that when he's reading lines, it looks and feels so natural. He looks as though he is thinking these things up on the spot, the things that he's saying, even though I heard the director in an interview say it was very much entirely scripted. There's no improv to it, but there's just something about him and the way that he works, Adam Driver, that makes it look so organic. And there are so many scenes, I cried a lot throughout this film. There's one scene in particular, which if you've seen the movie, you know the scene I'm talking about. The kind of fight scene. Because that's the thing about this couple. They're very calm, they're very docile, whether that's a good or bad thing. There's not a lot of friction in terms of outward emotions. There's a lot of tension, but it's kind of kept internalized. And then once the lawyers get involved, everything gets much worse. And the tension builds and builds and builds until there's a particular scene where it all comes bursting out. And it's one of the most uncomfortable scenes I've ever seen. My jaw was nearly on the floor for most of it. And then there's a part where after the outburst is over, Adam Driver, as Charlie, of course, sinks to his knees and is sobbing. And I was ugly crying at that point. It's a lot. It's a lot. And the ending of the film is just, it's perfect. Because these two people, you can tell throughout the whole film, from beginning to end, you can tell there's so much affection there and love, even if they're not right for each other, which as it goes on we see that, you know, probably they're not, but there's so much affection there. They respect each other so much. She respects him so much as an artist and as a creator and as a man, and it's just heartbreaking. And there's something about that, the fact that they are so peaceful with each other, that makes the outburst scene even more intense than it would be. Whereas with Blue Valentine, there's so much fighting, there's so much yelling, there's so much anger that it doesn't hit as hard as it does in Marriage Story, when it's just so different. And one thing that I love about this movie is that as an entity, it lays the characters out for you. The film never takes sides. We get to see the private, intimate moments of Charlie when he's alone. And then we also get to see the intimate, private moments when Nicole is alone. So we get to see them both as they are, not just as they interact with each other, but as they are on their own. And it's just so good. It's so good. And you're gonna flip back and forth between whose side you're on. Sometimes you're gonna be so for Charlie, and then other times you're gonna be so for Nicole, and it's gonna flip-flop back and forth until eventually your heart just cracks in two and you're holding both of them in it. It's the best way I can describe it. Anyway, it's on Netflix, so if you have Netflix, it's there. You should definitely watch it. I 100% recommend it. It's by far the best movie that I've seen so far in 2019. And it hit me in a certain way, and it's so beautiful, and the acting is so beautiful, and just the way the scenes are shot, the director is amazing. There's so many just beautiful transitions, and it's just so good. So check it out. It's a Netflix original. It went to theaters first, but it's fully on Netflix now, so I would imagine whatever country you're in, if you have Netflix, it should be there. So yeah, definitely, if you have the time, go and check it out. Let me know what you thought of it. I would love to know if you enjoyed it, if you didn't, just what you thought of it in general. And I hope you're having a great weekend, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.